Why the Oculus Quest is a game changer, episode 552.
The 10-Minute Teacher Podcast with Vicki Davis. Every weekday, you'll learn powerful, practical ways to be a more remarkable teacher today.
Today's sponsor is E for Effort. Stay tuned to the end of the show to learn how this easy-to-use system gives feedback on effort to your students and makes it easy. And you can get a 30-day free trial. Stay tuned. So today we're talking with my VR expert friend, Jaime Donally, about the Oculus Quest. It's here, Jaime, but what is it?
Well, it's so funny. Oculus Go came out last year in 2018, and it was the first standalone VR that was really made for, the average user. It was nice because you weren't tethered to a computer, and you had some really great options to kind of explore in this 360 realm. It was typically something you just stand up or sit down and experience, but it also sometimes makes you feel sick quicker because you're just standing up or sitting down. This year, there's kind of like they've been talking about it for a long time. Oculus was letting out a lot of hints, but finally came out late spring. And when it did, all of us just bought into it right away. But the Oculus Quest is different because it actually has front-facing cameras, 4 of them, on the front of the device, so it tracks where you're walking. So as I'm in virtual reality, I can actually set up a guardian in an area that I want to play in, but outside of that area, my cameras come on and let me know that I've went outside that area of caution, right? So don't hit the wall, don't walk into that table.
Wow. So you're actually able to see that you're outside of your safe zone.
Absolutely. And it's actually 2 remotes. The Oculus Go that came out standalone was really cool, but you had that single remote and you really couldn't move around or do anything without pointing somewhere and walking. Whereas with the Quest, you can actually walk around the space, especially if you have a pretty large space to work in. You can walk around quite a bit and never really feel like you're out of VR until you walk out of that guardian and say, oh, that's outside of my boundary. But it's a really incredible interaction beyond what we had with the Oculus Go.
So what's the latency and refresh rate? Do you still feel nauseous when when you haven't hit the guardian area and you're still in VR in your core, I guess, your play area?
You know what? My understanding is it doubled. So it got much better, although I can't really see a difference, but I know my brain sees a difference. I believe, the experience of actually moving, your body moving and it tracking you so much better than just looking left to right and it just kind of tracking you as you're looking around. And I think also when you're sitting there and just looking around, you kind of get dizzy, left to right, left to right. Whereas you're standing there and you're walking around and it's actually moving with you, I think it's just so much easier on your brain. Now, just like the Oculus Go, as far as the age goes, it's still something you have to be cautious with because it is a 13 or older. So it's still connected to a social account, your Facebook account, Facebook owns Oculus. And it really is intended for, those ages and above, which can be a little bit hard to hear for our elementary classrooms. They're ready to embrace this. And for those, I'd recommend a company called Viative that have their own standalone and they're not tied to social accounts and teachers can monitor and such. So, that's, at the end of the day, there's some great products. There's a lot coming.
The Oculus Quest is it a 1-to-1 where you have like one laptop running one Oculus Quest and then another laptop running another one? Or can like one laptop run 4 or 5 Oculus Quest and those people inhabit the same space?
So the cool part about the Quest is it doesn't require a computer at all.
No computer. Now, can you be in the same space?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I can be inside. So give me an example of how 4 or 5 people can be in the same space in an Oculus Quest experience.
Sure. Well, you want to set up your boundaries so you're not running into each other, but you can actually have interactions inside of VR together in the same space, such as like going into alt space or rec room. You can actually be in virtual reality together. You just probably want to set up your space to where you're not running into each other because you're going to have headsets on, and you want to set up your boundary to where you have your own boundary and somebody else has their own boundary. But yeah, you can have. I mean, they're all standalone. They're all connected to Wi-Fi independently. It's not requiring one computer or anything else to run it. Everything's just built into that headset.
Okay, so tell us about some of the coolest things that you've gone into in Oculus Quest.
Yeah. So Anne Frank came out on the Oculus Go and on the Oculus Quest. So if you actually have both the devices or you have multiple Quests or multiple Goes, you have to buy them each time. So just FYI, most of the time what you get is something that for the Quest, I've noticed I've had to pay a lot more because most of their experiences are paid for. Whereas the Go, I had a lot more free experiences that I got to go in on the educational side. Anne Frank, the house, you go and explore inside of her house. And when I did it in VR on the Go, I just sat there and looked around. I got really sick after a little while, whereas in the Quest, I could stay in that forever. And I've never been sick in the Quest. So that was neat. I love Ocean Rift, where you can go and swim with sea life. You can literally swim alongside of a beluga whale and it comes right up. Its eye comes right up to you. It's phenomenal. Tilt Brush. This is what's so cool is a lot of people went out and bought the HTC Vive and said, I want the Vive for the tilt brush. I want my students to be able to create in 3D. But then they only had one and they had to wait for each student to go in and one computer and one cord connected to that and all the cameras around that were set up. It was really not functional in a classroom, but with the tilt brush on the Quest, you can have multiple students designing at one time, all independently. And the cool part is it's connected to your Google account. So I can actually push it out in my Google account through Google Poly, and I can take my 3D designs and even push it out into augmented reality. So there's a lot of great things as far as the creation aspect and opportunities there. You want me to tell you the first thing I downloaded?
Yeah.
Okay, it was Vader Immortal because we're a huge Star Wars fan out here.
Me too.
And Vader is like massive. I mean, the guy walks up to you and you're just like, okay, take me to the dark side. I'll go. Don't.
No.
It's unreal to be on the spaceship and just go through all the things. And what I liked about it is it wasn't just a story that you're sitting in. It required you to complete certain tasks. So you're really learning how to engage in VR and be part of this experience. And they have chapters that will continue to get released. So that's really neat. And the last one I'll mention, although there's a ton out there, but Nature Trek, I loved that one because it really focuses in on more of the social emotional learning where you kind of set your scene and just have that time of relaxing, calming down. I think it's a great tool for our students if they have a lot of anxiety or they're facing maybe something that's really a difficult time for them. Thinking about how to learn to just relax and have calmness, and you can bring yourself to different places and just kind of shut out everything around you. So if it's chaos and crazy, you really find in virtual reality that it really does kind of take you away from that temporarily as you go and immerse yourself into virtual reality. But it's neat. It's a really neat experience.
Cool. So what is the Oculus Quest running now for schools?
So, the Oculus Go started at $199 and the Quest is double that. So we're looking at $399.
But you don't need a computer for it, each one.
Right.
No computer.
Absolutely. It's completely that's it. And what you would pay for is your apps. And that is something that people are really starting to face now. How do I pay for Oculus apps? What account does that come out of? So typically you're running into with school districts, do you have a credit card assigned for these purchases? And what accounts do we use to create? So we create kind of these classroom accounts to run this from Oculus. So I think that's ultimately the challenges you're going to face. Some people go into it thinking, well, where's all the students at right now? I want to control their screens. I want to see where they're at. But that's not really the intention of the Oculus Go or the Quest. It really is a standalone personalized device. But there are some options, like I mentioned with Viative, that really is looking and managing. And so you're given a lot more control and a lot more curriculum that's actually embedded into the headset. So because of that, I think that that's a benefit if they're looking at going VR, but they don't know where to start. Looking at some of those tools might be an option.
Cool. So check the show notes for all of these links and to learn more about the Oculus Quest. We also have some other episodes that Jaime and I have recorded about protocols in VR and how to teach in VR and just some different aspects of, just how you handle VR in the classroom. But Jaime, this is a really exciting field and it kind of feels like we're getting there, huh?
Absolutely. It's starting to feel like it's becoming more norm than, separated from the normal classroom environment.
And give such a way to take kids amazing places. So thank you, Jaime, and keep us posted on VR.
Absolutely. Thank you.
E for Effort is a tool built upon the research behind helping students improve. For example, in their book Performance Management, Aubrey Daniels says that a small immediate consequence that is certain to occur, or effort scoring, is much more powerful in the behavior change process than large consequences. This would be grades in this example that occur in the future. I've written a full review on my blog about E for Effort, but I also want you to check out coolcatteacher.com/effort for more information on this system and start encouraging effort with your students. So your challenge today is to look into VR opportunities for your classroom. Now, for me, I've gone and found a discount on some VR headsets that kids can put their phones in, and we've done some cool YouTube 360 VR. And I kind of did that on the cheap. If you have an Oculus Quest, then you can try that out. But I think that learning a little bit about VR will kind of get your mind rolling, even if you're not ready to do anything in your classroom yet. And I say yet because I do believe that most of us are going to end up with some sort of VR component as VR continues to improve. So check it out. And again, let me know what you do. Just tweet me on Twitter